Maybe you haven't realized it yet, but something in you has already changed. The same old conversations seem empty, once comfortable places now sound heavy, and that emptiness that once scared you. Today it seems like an invitation. What few will tell you is that this discomfort is not a problem, it is a sign that your vibrational frequency no longer fits in the old 3D. As many strive to keep up with the same pace of life, you begin to feel a subtle calling, almost as if a spiritual portal is opening before you. And at that moment, you ask yourself, is it crazy? Or am I finally awakening to something greater? The answer may not be what you expect, but it is exactly what your soul needs to hear. The path to the fifth dimension is not reserved for the chosen few. It is a journey of ascension that begins the moment you decide to stop fitting into molds that were never meant for you. And the sooner you understand the signs of spiritual awakening, the faster you will go through this dimensional transition with lightness and clarity. The question is, are you ready to understand why this discomfort is taking over you? Because, if you are, what I'm going to reveal to you will make you see your own life with different eyes. If this is already making sense to you, comment here on the word awakening and let's dive into this journey together. There are moments in life when a person feels, deep down, that something has changed. It is as if the vibrational frequency that once seemed normal no longer makes sense. She realizes that 3D, with its daily rushes and material concerns, no longer fills the heart. The mind begins to open, feeling the silent call of a spiritual portal, an invitation to expanded consciousness. It is like realizing that there is another floor of reality, ready to be explored. This spiritual awakening often begins in a subtle way. Small discomforts, questions about the meaning of life and even a sudden desire to be closer to nature. It is as if the awakening of the soul knocked on the door, asking to enter. The person begins to notice that the brightness of simple things is more enchanting than any rush. And this charm is a sign that she is already being prepared to cross over into the fifth dimension. Imagine being in a noisy environment and suddenly feeling that you need silence, not because of physical discomfort, but because your inner light cries out for peace. Or decide to change profession because the old one no longer resonates with the mission of the soul. These are clear clues that the old 3D standard is being left behind. And in these moments, listening to this intuition is more important than any rational logic. The curious thing is that this process is not always comfortable. Intense emotions, heightened sensitivity, and a sense of no longer fitting into certain social circles may arise. But this is not a sign of isolation, but of dimensional transition. It is proof that the high vibration is reconfiguring the way a person sees and interacts with the world. It's like changing the lens of a camera, suddenly, everything becomes sharper. And as this clarity intensifies, more evident signs begin to appear. Symbolic messages, unlikely coincidences, and even unexpected encounters that change the trajectory. It's as if the universe is sending a secret note, written just for you. And these signs? Well, they are just the beginning of something much deeper, which reveals itself when the symptoms of ascension begin to manifest. When the energy begins to adjust to the vibration of the fifth dimension, the body and mind do not go unscathed. Some people feel a slight fatigue for no apparent reason, as if they are processing invisible information. Others have vivid dreams, full of symbolism, as if they were passing through a spiritual portal every night. It is the body warning you that spiritual awakening is not only mental, but also physical. The symptoms of ascension can vary greatly. Some feel sudden heat, others realize that foods that were once common now weigh on digestion. There are still those who notice changes in sensitivity to sound and light, as if expanded consciousness were calibrating the senses. It's like tuning an instrument so that it plays at a new vibrational frequency. Someone who has always been agitated may begin to prefer slow walks, breathing deeply and observing details of the landscape. Or that person who loved parties may start to seek silence, because they feel that their inner light needs to be recharged. Small changes in habits like these reveal that the dimensional transition is underway, even if the mind tries to rationalize. Emotionally, this phase can bring moments of unexplained crying, spontaneous laughter, or even a feeling of lightness that appears out of nowhere. The old emotional of 3D is letting go, making room for a high vibration. And here, more than ever, it is important not to resist. Fighting the process only slows down the adjustment. The most curious thing is that the more a person accepts these symptoms, the more they become signs of progress. The light body begins to strengthen, preparing for the energetic recalibration that will follow. It is as if each cell is being reminded of its true soul mission, making room for the next step of this journey. There comes a time when the person realizes that they are no longer the same. That old version of her, shaped by 3D, starts to seem distant, almost like a character she no longer plays. Conversations, places, and even certain clothes no longer match your current vibrational frequency. It is the clear sign that the awakening of the soul is asking for space to flourish. This detachment is not always simple. Sometimes it involves ending relationships that seemed eternal or abandoning projects that no longer resonate with the soul mission. But each time a weight is released, space is opened for expanded consciousness to act. It's like cleaning a room full of old things to receive new furniture, and more comfortable for the ascension journey. Imagine someone who has always worked in a stable job, but who secretly felt like they weren't contributing to the world. One day, that person simply knows that they need to follow another path, something more aligned with their inner light. The decision does not come from the logical mind, but from an inner call so strong that it becomes impossible to ignore. Detachment also requires courage. After all, leaving behind 3D patterns, beliefs, and habits can generate fear of the unknown. But it is precisely in this void that the dimensional transition is strengthened. And, with the vibration raised, this emptiness stops being scary and starts to be seen as a fertile field to create a new reality. And as this new version begins to take hold, the subtle body is already preparing for the next stage, energetic recalibration. This is where the real magic begins, as the energy not only adjusts but expands to sustain life in the fifth dimension. When the energetic recalibration begins, it is as if the whole body is switching operating systems. The light body strengthens, expanding the vibrational field to receive the new frequencies of the fifth dimension. This process can be felt as energy spikes, subtle tingles, or even a slight feeling of warmth in the center of the chest. It is spiritual awakening anchoring itself into physicality. During this phase, the person may notice that their mood and disposition fluctuate more. It's normal. The old energy of 3D is being released, and the entire system needs to adjust. It's like reorganizing an entire library. First comes chaos, then order. The key is not to force, but to allow expanded consciousness to lead the process. On days of intense recalibration, exchanging excess commitments for moments of introspection can make all the difference. Walking in nature, drinking more water, and practicing deep breathing help stabilize the elevated vibration. Small habits like this speed up the dimensional transition without weighing down the body. It is interesting to note that the more a person aligns with their inner light, the more noticeable the synchrony between body, mind and spirit becomes. The recalibration is not only energetic, it is also emotional and mental. The old 3D stories lose strength, while new perceptions begin to settle naturally. And, at this rate, something curious happens. The person begins to perceive clearer signs of the universe, as if he were learning a new language. A language that is not made of words, but of symbols, coincidences and messages that appear at the right moment. And that's exactly what the next step of this journey comes about. When the high vibration stabilizes, the world begins to speak to the person in a different way. The synchronicities multiply, repeated numbers, unexpected encounters, and phrases that seem to respond exactly to what she was thinking. It is the spiritual portal opening for a subtle but powerful communication between the universe and expanded consciousness. These signs are not coincidences, they are answers. 3D would call it chance, but in the fifth dimension it is understood that nothing is random. When someone repeatedly sees the same symbol or comes across the same message several times, it is as if the spiritual awakening is delivering clues about the soul's mission. And ignoring these signs is like failing to open important letters. Someone who thinks about moving to another city and, in the following days, finds conversations, advertisements, and even films about that specific destination. This is not mere coincidence, it is an energetic invitation to act. The dimensional transition becomes more fluid when this cosmic dance is accepted. Over time, the person begins to understand that this language goes beyond visual signs. It can come in physical sensations, intense dreams, or even in songs that play at the right moment. It's as if the universe is saying, "Keep going, you're on the right track." This connection strengthens inner light and trust in the journey. And as this listening deepens, a natural desire to cleanse oneself internally arises. Because, in order to fully understand this communication, it is necessary that the mind and heart are free from noise and blockages. And that brings us directly to the next step on this journey. Inner purification is like doing a deep cleaning, but within yourself. It is the time when old emotions, limiting beliefs, and painful memories begin to surface to be released. It is not a comfortable process, but it is essential to sustain the subtler energy of the fifth dimension. The elevated vibration only remains when the baggage of 3D is left behind. During this phase, the person may feel that they are reliving old conflicts. But instead of fighting these memories, spiritual awakening invites you to observe them with compassion. This is not reopening wounds, but allowing them to truly heal. It's like dusting off a mirror. The cleaner the surface, the clearer the vision of the inner light itself. Keeping a journal to record feelings helps you identify patterns that need to be transformed. Meditations focused on forgiveness and gratitude accelerate this emotional cleansing. And even reorganizing the house, getting rid of objects that carry 3D memories, can be a powerful ritual of dimensional transition. This purification is not only emotional, but also mental. Repetitive thoughts and excessive self-criticism begin to lose strength when expanded consciousness takes over. With less internal noise, it becomes easier to hear the voice of intuition, the one that always points to the soul's mission. And it is in this inner silence that something special happens. The person feels the call of something greater. An impulse that does not come from outside, but from within, indicating that it is time to fully live the purpose for which you came. And that calling, of course, is the next step in the journey. When the call of the soul mission arrives, he does not present himself with sirens or bugles. It's more like a gentle breeze that blows in the heart, bringing a deep sense that, this is what I came here to do. 3D, with its external pressures, no longer dictates the way. It is the high vibration of the fifth dimension that guides every step. This call can manifest itself in many ways: a project that comes up suddenly, an unexpected opportunity, or even a simple conversation that lights up a twinkle in the eye. Expanded consciousness begins to connect dots that once seemed loose, revealing a greater purpose. It is as if the spiritual portal opened and showed the road illuminated by the inner light itself. Someone who has always worked with numbers may feel an irresistible urge to start teaching meditation. Another who lived in the corporate environment may decide to grow organic food. These changes are not whims, but symptoms of ascension, clear signs that the soul mission is calling. The most important thing at this stage is to trust. The 3D mind wants certainties and guarantees, but spiritual awakening teaches that the path is built step by step. Each purpose-aligned decision adjusts the vibrational frequency and opens new doors. It's a dance between conscious action and confident delivery. And when the person begins to live their purpose, the world around them changes. Relationships harmonize, time seems to flow differently, and the feeling of unity becomes constant. And it is precisely this experience of living in the fifth dimension that comes next. Living in the fifth dimension is like waking up from a long dream and finally realizing that reality is much more colorful, light, and expansive than it seemed. Consciousness ceases to be limited by the rigid rules of 3D and starts to create from a state of unconditional love. The high vibration becomes natural, and the awakening of the soul ceases to be a process to become a lifestyle. In this new state, separation loses its meaning. There is no me against the world, but rather us as part of the whole. The dimensional transition reveals that everything is interconnected, and this changes the way a person acts, thinks, and relates. The inner light guides each decision, and the mission of the soul is fulfilled in the simple act of living. In a conflict situation, instead of reacting with anger, the person seeks to understand the root of the other's pain. She realizes that maintaining inner peace is not passivity, but an active force that transforms realities. This posture is not learned only in theory, it is the result of expanded consciousness acting in each interaction. Life in the fifth dimension is also marked by a constant sense of abundance. Not necessarily material abundance, but a flow of opportunities, connections, and synchronicities that seem magical. It is the spiritual portal operating continuously, responding to the high vibrational frequency. And even if this state is complete, it does not mean the end of the journey. On the contrary, it is the starting point for even higher levels of ascension. Because, when you live at this level, the universe begins to reveal mysteries that could not even be imagined before. Now that you know each step of this journey, from soul awakening to full life in the fifth dimension, the question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to keep it in storage, as another piece of information that is lost in everyday life, or are you going to act to raise your vibrational frequency from now on? If you have really felt that these signs are happening in your life, then it is no coincidence that you are here. It is the spiritual portal opening, asking you to take on your soul mission. Begin by observing your own ascension symptoms, practice letting go, and align with your inner light. Small daily steps can completely change your state of consciousness. And tell me, are you going to continue to be stuck in the old 3D, or are you going to allow the expanded consciousness to lead you to a new level of existence? Think about it. And remember, spiritual awakening waits for no one. If this message touched you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue learning and delving deeper into this ascension path. And before leaving, write here in the comments, "I choose," to seal your commitment to your own transformation.